Let's get straight to the point. Number 8. The notification addiction. You hear a buzz. Your hand's already reaching for your phone before your brain even registers what happened. Congratulations! You've been Pavloved by a corporation. This is called intermittent reinforcement, and it's the same psychological trick casinos use on slot machines. Your brain releases a tiny hit of dopamine every time you check that notification, not because of what's inside, but because you don't know what's inside. Maybe it's important. Maybe it's nothing. Your brain doesn't care, it just wants to find out. Here's the problem. Every buzz, every ding, every little red circle trains your nervous system to stay in a state of anticipation. Your body can't tell the difference between waiting for a text and waiting for a predator. So your cortisol stays elevated, your focus gets shredded into confetti, and your baseline anxiety creeps higher every single day. The fix? Turn off non-essential notifications. All of them. If it's actually urgent, they'll call. Your brain will thank you by remembering what boredom feels like. But you won't do that. Because what if you miss something important? Exactly. Number 7. The comparison trap. You're scrolling through someone's highlight reel at 2 in the morning, comparing their vacation photos to your laundry pile, and wondering why your life feels like a low-budget sequel. Welcome to social comparison theory on steroids. Your brain evolved to compare yourself to your immediate tribe, maybe a few dozen people. Now you're comparing yourself to millions of curated, filtered, professionally edited versions of reality. And losing. Every single time. Here's what's happening in your head. Your prefrontal cortex is trying to measure your worth, but it's using completely rigged data. Meanwhile, your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, starts firing because you're registering as behind in the social hierarchy. That triggers a stress response. Chronic stress means elevated cortisol, disrupted sleep, and the lovely little anxiety feedback loop. The consequence? You start to feel inadequate by default. Not because your life is bad, but because you're measuring it against fiction. The reframe? Understand that social media is a business model, not a documentary. Everyone's faking it. Even the people who look like they're not faking it are faking not faking it. You're welcome for that existential crisis. Number 6. The caffeine dependency cycle. You can't function without coffee. That's not a personality trait, that's withdrawal. Let's be honest about what's happening here. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine, a neurotransmitter that makes you feel tired. Sounds great, right? Except your brain adapts. It starts producing more adenosine receptors to compensate. So now you need more caffeine just to feel normal, and without it, you feel worse than you did before you ever started drinking it. But here's the kicker. Caffeine also spikes cortisol and adrenaline. That's why it wakes you up. It's literally activating your fight or flight response, which is fine in small doses, but when you're running on 3 cups a day, your nervous system is in a constant state of low-level emergency. Your body thinks you're being chased, so it keeps you anxious, alert, and ready to run. Over time, this wrecks your sleep because even if you stop drinking coffee at noon, the half-life of caffeine means it's still in your system at bedtime. Poor sleep means more fatigue. More fatigue means more coffee. And the cycle continues. The fix? Taper down. Slowly. Or accept that you're chemically dependent on a legal stimulant and stop pretending it's self-care. Your move. Productivity guru. Number 5. The sleep deprivation grind. You're running on 5 hours of sleep because you were grinding until midnight, and now you're wondering why you feel like your brain's made of wet cardboard. Spoiler, it kind of is. Sleep is when your brain clears out metabolic waste, consolidates memories, and regulates emotions. When you don't get enough of it, that waste builds up literally. There's a system called the glymphatic system that only works efficiently while you sleep. Skip sleep, and it's like trying to run a garbage disposal with the drain clogged. But here's where the anxiety comes in. Sleep deprivation directly impairs your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for rational thought and emotional regulation. At the same time, it hyperactivates your amygdala, which is responsible for fear and threat detection. So you're more reactive, more emotional, and worse at talking yourself down from irrational thoughts. The result? Everything feels more threatening than it actually is. A normal email reads like a personal attack. A minor inconvenience feels catastrophic. You're not losing your mind, you're just exhausted. The reframe? Sleep isn't lazy, it's non-negotiable maintenance. You wouldn't drive a car for a year without an oil change. Stop doing it to your brain. But sure, keep bragging about your 4-hour nights. Number 4. The doom-scrolling ritual. It's 11 p.m. You're in bed scrolling through an endless feed of disasters, arguments, and existential dread. You tell yourself you're staying informed. You're not. You're marinating your brain in cortisol. This is called negativity bias, and it's hardwired into your survival system. Your brain is more sensitive to bad news than good news because, historically, ignoring danger got you killed. But modern media exploits this. Every headline is optimized to trigger your threat response because fear keeps you clicking. Here's the damage. Constant exposure to negative information keeps your nervous system in a chronic stress state. Your brain starts interpreting the world as more dangerous than it actually is. You become hypervigilant. Your baseline anxiety rises. And because you're doing this right before bed, you're flooding your system with stress hormones right when it should be winding down. The consequence? Worse sleep, more anxiety, a warped perception of reality, and the illusion that you're doing something productive when you're actually just feeding the algorithm. The fix? Set a hard cutoff. No news, no social media, no doom scrolling after 9 p.m. Replace it with literally anything else. Read fiction. Stare at the ceiling. Your mental health will improve within a week, but you probably won't because what if something important happens while you're asleep? Spoiler, it won't matter until morning. Number 3. The productivity cult. You've convinced yourself that rest is earned, not required. That downtime is wasted time. That if you're not optimizing, learning, or grinding, you're falling behind. Congratulations, you've internalized hustle culture as an identity. Here's the deal. Your nervous system has 2 modes: sympathetic, fight or flight, and parasympathetic, rest and digest. Modern life keeps you locked in sympathetic mode. Work stress, financial pressure, constant connectivity, it all registers as threat. And when you never allow your body to switch into parasympathetic mode, your stress hormones never come down. Chronic activation of your sympathetic nervous system leads to anxiety, burnout, digestive issues, immune suppression, and eventual collapse. Your body isn't designed to run on adrenaline 24/7. It's designed to sprint occasionally and rest frequently. You're doing the opposite. The irony? Rest makes you more productive. Your brain consolidates learning during downtime. Your creativity spikes when you're not forcing it, but you've been conditioned to see rest as weakness, so you keep pushing until your body forces you to stop. The reframe? Productivity without recovery is just a slow-motion breakdown. Schedule rest like you schedule meetings. Your nervous system doesn't care about your to-do list. But sure, keep glorifying exhaustion. Number 2, the financial insecurity spiral. You're one unexpected expense away from panic, and your bank account reminds you of that every time you check it. Even if you're objectively fine, the fear of not being fine lives in your head, rent-free. This is economic anxiety, and it's one of the most persistent stressors in modern life. Your brain treats financial uncertainty the same way it treats physical danger. The amygdala fires. Cortisol floods your system. You go into survival mode. Here's the problem. Unlike a predator that you can fight or run from, financial stress doesn't end. It's always there. Bills, rent, debt, inflation, constant low-level threat with no resolution. Your nervous system never gets the signal that you're safe, so it never fully relaxes. The long-term consequence? Chronic stress rewires your brain. It shrinks your hippocampus, which affects memory and learning. It weakens your prefrontal cortex, which impairs decision-making. And it keeps your amygdala on high alert, which makes you more anxious about everything, not just money. The fix? You can't eliminate financial stress overnight, but you can reduce its mental grip. Automate bills. Set a specific time to check finances instead of obsessing throughout the day. Build a small emergency fund, even if it's just $500. The psychological relief of a buffer is real. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck because wages haven't kept up with the cost of existence, that's not a personal failing. That's structural. And your anxiety is a rational response to an irrational system. Number 1, the lack of genuine rest. You think you're resting, but you're not. You're lying on the couch scrolling through your phone, half watching TV, mentally replaying work emails, planning tomorrow, and calling it downtime. That's not rest. That's distraction with a side of low-grade stress. Real rest means your nervous system actually gets to recover. That means no screens, no multitasking, no background anxiety about what you should be doing instead. It means boredom, stillness, the kind of quiet that makes you uncomfortable because you're so conditioned to constant stimulation. Here's what's happening when you never truly rest. Your body stays in a state of partial activation. Your cortisol never fully drops. Your brain never gets the signal that it's safe to repair and restore. You're running a system that's designed to have downtime on a 24/7 schedule, and it's breaking. The consequence? You wake up tired. You feel anxious for no clear reason. You're irritable, foggy, and constantly low energy even though you're relaxing every night, because you're not actually resting. You're just switching from one form of stimulation to another. The reframe? Rest is a skill you have to relearn. Start with 10 minutes of doing absolutely nothing. No phone, no music, no task. Just sit there. It will feel weird. That's the point. Your nervous system needs to remember what safety feels like, but you won't do it because 10 minutes of silence sounds like torture compared to the dopamine drip of infinite content. And that's exactly why you need it. If this felt like a personal roast, good. It was. Modern life isn't designed to make you calm. It's designed to keep you engaged, consuming, and productive. Your anxiety isn't a flaw, it's a feature of the system, but you don't have to let it run you into the ground. Hit like if you recognized yourself in at least 3 of these. Subscribe if you want more uncomfortable truths delivered with zero sympathy. And maybe, just maybe, put the phone down for 5 minutes and see what happens. Or don't. Your cortisol levels are none of my business.